Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar today. I hope everybody is looking forward to hearing what we have to say about Klaviyo CDP and how you're going to be able to make the most of it for Black Friday. My name's Jason. I'm the COO at Andzen, and I've got Mike with me from Klaviyo this morning. So Mike has been with Klaviyo for a long time, joins us from the US, and was one of the first guys on the ground here with the Klaviyo team. But Mike, I'll give you a little bit of a chance to introduce yourself.
Everyone, thanks for joining today. My name's Mike. I've been at Klaviyo now for about a year as the window cleaners pass our office here in Sydney behind me. As you probably know, or may or may not know, we've been on the ground here in Sydney for about a year and a half now, and we've got over 80 people in our office. So really love working at Klaviyo. It's been a very, very fantastic year, and with CDP, it's only going to get better. So I'm very grateful to be on today's call.
Awesome. So a little bit of housekeeping to get us started with the webinar, just as we let a few more people trickle in. You'll see in the right-hand side of your panel today that there is a chat window. Please feel free to get involved in the conversation. If you want to kick us off, feel free to pop in maybe where you're joining us from today. I know we've got a few people from the US that are registered, a few from Europe and the UK, which would be quite early in the day for them, and a couple of other people in the Pacific. So yeah, we'd love to hear where you guys are viewing in from. Any questions that you have as Mike and I go through. We do have the wonderful Carissa and Lauren here to moderate the chat. So if you have any quick fire questions while Mike and I are talking, and we're just running away with it, Carissa and Loz will be there to answer any questions. But also, if there's anything that you want to ask, we are going to have a Q&A section at the end. So feel free to pop those questions in. Even if you want to mention question for the end, Loz and Carissa will make sure that Mike and I see them, and we can circle back at the end as well. So yeah, I guess we can get stuck into it. So today we're here to talk about CDP. I'm personally really excited about this launch. I've been talking to the Klaviyo team about CDP for probably 2 or 3 years now. They've been working in the background on what CDP looks like for Klaviyo for quite a long time. So it's really exciting to see the feature come out, to see the roadmap and start seeing where they're going to take CDP with Klaviyo. So what the content that we're going to cover today is really focused in on some of the features of CDP, but some of, even niche down there, some of the features that are going to be really practical for you to use between now and Black Friday and in the time after Black Friday around reporting and analysis. So we're going to kick off talking about RFM analysis. If you don't know what RFM is, don't worry too much. We're going to go into some detail and explain how it works. We're then going to talk about new audience reporting features. These are some really great tools that Klaviyo have brought out that allow you to be able to see audience performance in one place rather than in individual campaigns. We're going to talk about funnel analysis, which is personally something that I'm really excited for as an agency that implements Klaviyo for brands every day. Funnel analysis being in the platform is something that really speeds up how we can work in the tool, but it also really demystifies things for you guys as the merchants. We're going to talk about a brand new feature that all accounts have access to, which is called Anonymous User Backfill. This is really exciting. I think a really good example of how Klaviyo are constantly pushing new features in the platform and making things available for everybody as part of what they do day to day. Then we're going to really dive deep into BFCM. So talk about some campaign best practices. We're going to do a little spotlight on SMS as well, so that you are fully prepared. But before we start, as a exciting part of joining the webinar, everybody today is eligible for a 30-day free trial of CDP. Mike, did you want to talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've just launched CDP, obviously, a few weeks ago. This is in partnership with many of our customers who have been working with our product team to ensure that we're just constantly getting better. We are in the process of offering 30-day trials to any brands who want to flex CDP. It's kind of a mutual agreement whereby we're accepting product feedback during this 30 days. That is essentially steering our roadmap going forward. So a great opportunity, especially as we approach Black Friday, Cyber Monday, to understand more around your profiles, your segments, what are driving sales, what does the customer journey look like, which we'll jump into today, so that you can maximize performance in November and December. But if this is something you want to give it a crack, please let us know. We're happy to switch on the features and functionality today after this webinar.
Great. So part one, RFM analysis. So like I said, we're going to explain a little bit about what RFM is. So RFM stands for Recency, Frequency, and Monetary. And it's basically an analytical way to look at your subscriber database, consider some key metrics, the recency of their last purchase, maybe the frequency at which that customer purchases, and what their total monetary value is. There's a scoring system that we'll come on to, but at a high level explanation of RFM, the purpose of it is to be a very data-driven way for you to classify clients or customers based on how they actually shop with your brand. So a good way to think about this compared to maybe creating a segment, which is just, maybe purchased more than twice in 60 days or 90 days, is that you might have a customer who is a very loyal customer, consistently purchases once every couple of months. If you have a replenishable product, for example, there may be a very stable customer for that product. But then suddenly you see a dip in what their order value is. RFM allows you to factor that into your understanding of where that customer is in their journey by identifying, yeah, sure, they may have consistently been placing an order over this 6-month period, but actually there's been a steep change in the details of that order, whether it is the frequency or the monetary value. And that might be an alert for you to do some sort of re-engagement with customers in that segment that you otherwise might not have known about if you were just using a traditional placed order segment. So looking at how this actually works in Klaviyo CDP, you're going to be able to use RFM analysis to create segments. This is really powerful because obviously it takes the guesswork out of it for you. A lot of the analytics in here are going to be built in. Klaviyo is going to be able to prompt you with potential segments and let you know, here are your truly best customers based on their average order spend and the recency and frequency of their shopping. Highlight customers who need attention. So is there some steep change in their shopping behavior that is different to just not having shopped recently? But also customers who are in the middle. So how do you kind of assess, what was likely the bulk of your customers? What is an average shopping behavior, and who is maybe with a little bit of fluctuation still living in that middle zone and is still a good, reliable customer? So yeah, we've got a little bit of an explanation here on how it works. Mike, I don't know if you want to jump in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. In all my conversations now, this is easily the creme de la creme tool when we talk about CDP, stands out above all the rest. And it's something that our customers have been asking for some time now. To just layer onto what Jason has said, by breaking customers into RFM groups, we're able to understand buying behaviors. So brands can create data-driven marketing initiatives to target these groups and push them into higher value groups. What we've done is actually broken down these categories into predetermined groups. I think there's about 6. So what we do is we give each group or segment a score based on these 3 factors: recency, frequency, and monetary value. Champions are our best customers who purchase frequently and have spent the most money out of all of our customers with us. They would get a 3 across each variable. The loyal group would also, have purchased frequently, but maybe have a lower monetary value, might get a 2 in terms of their monetary value, but 3 across the board on the others. The recent category is a group of customers that would have purchased recently, but from a frequency standpoint, maybe not as often as champions, and also from monetary value, not as high as those champions, so they might get scores of 2. And then there's an at-risk or a needs attention group that may be customers who have spent a lot on in terms of with our brand, but haven't purchased recently. An at-risk group who are in the similar kind of low-value customers who have not purchased recently and are at high risk of potentially never purchasing again. And then inactive customers who are infrequent customers with our brand. So essentially what we're doing is we're allowing our customers to get visibility into these groups at a snapshot and be able to create segments off the back of these groups to be able to target them with more targeted campaigns and messaging.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, a lot of what Mike was just saying there is covered here, but really the way that this is going to help you is prioritization. We're all obviously very time poor these days, and we're trying to do a million things at once. This RFM analysis tool is really going to help you understand where to put your time. Also letting you build segments quickly. This is something that Klaviyo is really pushing to make easier for you guys, is how to surface insight and make it, almost one click for you to say, okay, if there's a data point about some behavior, build a segment of everyone exhibiting that behavior so that we can do something about it. Clearly defining your existing buyer personas and designating tiers for your loyalty program as well. RFM can really give you some strong insights into what are those important, maybe monetary cutoff values and things like that.
One thing I'll add to that, Jason, is there's in the RFM tool, there's a great visual diagram that represents where the trends are. So where customers are moving from category to category. So you might see, in the last 30 days, for example, 500 customers have slipped from recent to needs attention. So how do we then, target these individuals to bring them back to our loyal or champions categories? It just visualizes where we're seeing potential drop-offs and how we can optimize performance in Klaviyo.
Absolutely. So we wanted to jump into some examples of how you might be able to use some of these reporting tools heading into Black Friday. So a really good example that we have run for quite a lot of customers over the years around Black Friday is early access for VIP customers. If you have a loyalty program, this can be a really great way as well to reward people in your highest tier, but also encourage people in the lead up to Black Friday to shop and do what they can to get into that tier so that they're the first to get access to your sale. We're always, obviously, Black Friday is a great time for sales in e-commerce, but there's always that fine line to judge, when are people maybe going to stop buying because they're waiting for these sales. Being able to let your customers know that there is going to be an early access sale for an exclusive group of customers, and promoting that is a really good way to encourage people to not sit around and wait to purchase everything they want until the sale begins, but maybe pick up some pieces that they've been looking at so that they're going to be able to maximize their value during your Black Friday sale. Frequency of campaigns is also a really interesting one. So RFM helps you to really understand those engagement levels, and that lets you know what groups you might be able to be in contact more with a little bit more aggression, or a little bit more aggressively over that period. So a really good example of this is if you have a highly engaged or high value segment, you could create that using RFM, and then you could layer a question on it to see if they've purchased during the Black Friday period yet. Naturally, once you launch your sale, you're probably going to see that segment size drop quite a bit because a lot of your most loyal customers are going to shop, but you might notice that there are some stragglers depending on your list size in that segment. And you can have a bit more confidence to email them mid-sale or maybe send them an extra SMS campaign during the sale to encourage them to place their order and not really be risking them unsubscribing, because you know that they're a much more engaged subscriber compared to just your general database. It's also a great tool for understanding where people are at in their buying journey. So a really good example here is varying the content of your email based on the customer type. We've got one version of the email that talks heavily about UGC and customer reviews to try and build trust with a segment of customers that might not be that engaged. Whereas the other version for more highly engaged customers is just a very visual product with a prompt to let them know to come back and complete their order. And then finally, bonus offers can be a really strong pull during holiday periods as well. So being able to offer bonus points to a certain segment of customers, whether that be loyal customers or even at-risk customers, potentially introducing free gifts with purchase for different groups. RFM is going to let you break down those segments, not just ahead of Black Friday, but also during Black Friday, and give you the ability to run some extra promos to groups that you think there's more opportunity to close. So that's going to take us next onto audience reporting. This is a really great new way to look at the overall performance of some of the segments that you create using your RFM tool, but also the traditional segments that you might already have in your account. Mike, did you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. And just wanted to say great examples of how to leverage RFM on those previous slides. You guys are doing great work with current customers using RFM. So those were all super relevant. With audience reporting, again, this is something that our customers have been asking for a while. It's actually pretty simple, but very valuable. Comparing segments performance over a given date range across specific metrics. So what are our highest performing segments? What are our lowest performing segments? And to be able to action based off the back of total revenue per channel, just comparing segments in one list view can be incredibly valuable for our customers. So again, this is something that we've been building and that's now available in CDP.
Yeah, I think something that this reporting tool really helps you understand as well is it can often be a bit of a gray area to consider how to walk the line between deliverability and making sure that you are staying in contact with customers that might purchase. Holiday periods are always one of those times where you want to maybe let the rope out a little bit on what your engaged segment definition is, because you know that you might have seasonal shoppers that just wait until Black Friday to come back and shop on sale. You know that you might have some people that subscribed 2 or 3 months ago that never purchased that could be really keen to shop during the holidays. So the temptation is always there to open up a little bit in terms of deliverability, but you also obviously don't want to risk that going too far, generating lots of bounces could really impact getting into the inbox in a competitive time of year. This report is a really great way to look at segments at a very high level in terms of revenue and engagement, and be able to maybe quickly make an assessment to cut some people from who you're going to be sending over the holidays because they really don't show any propensity to purchase, versus people that maybe do have a strong purchase propensity, maybe even up to 12 months ago, so that you can be confident that those people are worth reaching out to over this period without impacting your deliverability. Part 3, so like I mentioned at the top, funnel analysis. For me, this is probably one of the most exciting tools. It really adds a visual element to being able to understand how your flows are working, how your campaigns are working, how segments are engaging. So what is it? It is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically an analysis and a visual representation of your funnel. Mike, did you want to talk a little bit maybe about the specifics of how the report works?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, in my conversations, if RFM is number one, funnel analysis is number two in terms of what brands are getting excited and hyped about. So allowing brands to build funnels using data from every integration across the entire stack, what's being fed into Klaviyo. So what's great about funnel analysis is the tool is intuitive and it's intended to help brands improve your customer experience. So meaning you can get a clear picture of the experience your customers are going through along the path from, subscribe to conversion. So each funnel is customizable, and so you can understand from a customer journey perspective when they visit, submit a sign-up form, all the way through to purchase, where any drop-off is, where are we losing engagement so that we can better optimize the customer experience. And what makes this tool really, really unique and incredibly powerful is the ability to filter a whole funnel by a specific segment. So this allows us to analyze how the funnel differs per segment. The same path from subscribe to conversion might perform well for VIP customers, but with a less engaged segment or audience, we might not see the same engagement, or we might see a different drop-off. So how can we then action on that data and insight?
Yeah, absolutely. So on our next screen, I've just talked about some of the ways that you can use the funnel analysis report, obviously understanding how people progress. But these next two, I think, are the really important ones. So zeroing in on specific flows and journeys, or even specific channels. So in the example you can see here, we've built out a report that looks at what the initial SMS subscription journey looks like. So we can see how many people have subscribed to SMS. This was set up, I think, for a 90-day period. So we can see in the last quarter, we got just shy of 7,000 people signing up for SMS, just shy of 6,000 receives an SMS. So immediately right there, there's a question that I can ask, which is why did slightly over 10% of the people that subscribe to SMS in this quarter not receive any SMS at all? So right there is there's obviously a very small window or way that people are subscribing via SMS that we haven't picked up on that isn't being addressed. And this report can surface that, in a matter of seconds for you. We then see obviously a big drop off from people that have received an SMS to the people that have clicked. And then we kind of see pretty stable around 30% flowing through from each stage here into placing their order. So again, this is making it really easy and really visual to understand that where we currently potentially have a bit of a gap is being able to increase that click rate. 33% is a pretty strong click rate. I think we'd all be pretty happy with that if we sent that out. But we're seeing the how that changes as someone moves through the funnel. Looking at the added to cart and the placed order rate, we can also see that maybe about 70% of people that are adding to cart still aren't placing an order. So that again opens up for us. We know then we have a large segment of people that are adding a product to their cart, but are potentially not checking out. How can we then incorporate SMS better maybe into our added to cart flow if we know that the engagement is really strong? So it's just another way for you to see how people progress through these individual stages, but then also give you those little quick win ideas of actually, if I just take 10 minutes or half an hour to add an SMS to these flows, I might be able to see really great uplift.
Yeah, I was going to layer on that real quick, Jason, because you raised an amazing point of the value of having a consolidated strategy on Klaviyo and the ability to then look at data across both channels within funnel. Something that wouldn't be possible if brands had an SMS strategy outside of Klaviyo and an email strategy within. So, when I look at this, I think you received an SMS but didn't click. So, or a large portion didn't click. So maybe my copy is too long. Maybe the call to action isn't clear. So being able to kind of optimize our messaging there, but also the ability to further build strategy based on your SMS strategy versus your email strategy. is something that's going to be critical, and understanding, who are most engaged with funnel and RFM together.
Perfect. So anonymous activity backfill. Like I mentioned, this is a free new feature that everybody is receiving, whether you're using CDP or not. And for me, I personally feel like, while this is a very technical feature, people are probably going to find that this is one of the most impactful features that Klaviyo has released in a long time. It has huge potential to help you better understand your subscribers, but also provide much more personalized experiences right from the get-go when people subscribe, based on having a much more rich understanding of how they've engaged with your brand. So let's dive into what the feature is. The first thing to talk a little bit about is how Klaviyo currently tracks on-site behavior. So right now, I'm sure most of you would have set up Klaviyo's on-site tracking scripts. The extra events that these allow you to track is whether or not people are active on site and whether or not they've viewed a product. So basically some high-level browsing events that can sync to Klaviyo to let you know when someone's visited your website or when they've viewed a product. And I'm sure a lot of us would be familiar with the viewed product event. That's the key event that we use most of the time for that browse abandonment flow. So Klaviyo standard web tracking, the way that it works today is that when a subscriber or a website visitor fills out a form, the cookie drops, they're identified, their email address is associated with that session, and any behavior they take on the website is then tracked. If the subscriber also clicks a link from an email, that cookie is also dropped. So if someone has received a flow email or a campaign email, they're also being tracked, and we're able to see what they're doing on site. What anonymous activity backfill means is that now Klaviyo won't wait until that website visitor is identified to drop the cookie. The cookie will be dropped straight away. So all sessions coming to your website now will have some sort of tracking being initiated. And then what Klaviyo is going to do is basically hold that information and continuously build up its understanding of what that visitor has done. And then at any point, if they become identified, so they fill out a form, maybe they even place their order and they identify themselves at checkout, Klaviyo can then can write all of that historical engagement to their profile within Klaviyo. So if you think about someone who's maybe filled out a pop-up, a new visitor pop-up, but maybe it's actually their third or fourth session that they've seen that pop-up and they've decided to subscribe, any products or anything they've viewed in those previous sessions are now going to sync to Klaviyo. And the product feeds that are then in that welcome email are going to be able to pull on that data. So if you're using product feeds in your welcome email that highlight products that a subscriber has previously viewed, immediately now that welcome email is going to be significantly more personalized, thanks to these events having previously been tracked by Klaviyo and now being synced to the profile. Looks like Mike might have just had a little bit of internet trouble, so I'll keep cracking on. I know we've got him back. All right, Mike, did you want to chat a little bit about this?
Yeah, sorry about that. So I guess the backstory here is Anonymous Backfill was intended to be released with CDP, but because we're a customer-first company, this just made a lot of sense to include in our general offering within Klaviyo for email customers. If you do not have this enabled today, I highly recommend getting going on this. There's help articles. I tried to post a help article to our little chat there, but it logged me out, so I'm not going to do it again. But we're happy to follow up with all attendees with the link. This just is going to empower brands' understanding of how customers are engaging with your content.
Looks like.
So yeah, sorry.
All right. Well, yeah, I think I can just pick up from where Mike was there. But yeah, as he was saying, it really just demystifies a lot of what subscribers might have been doing on your website prior to signing up or prior to becoming a customer. So Mike, looks like you're...
Sorry about that. I can see my colleague Kat, who's on the call, is just like covered for me there. Thank you so much. But absolutely, if you don't have this enabled, highly recommend you do.
Perfect. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight, obviously I touched on a couple of these just before, but some of the ways that you can use this, I really encourage you, if you haven't already done it, go into your flows, whether that be your nurture series, maybe your post-purchase, like if you've got a cross-sell series or something like that. Any of those flows are going to be running over BFCM. Check your product feeds, see if you've got them personalized to what to the subscribers' viewed products. You just edit your email, you click on that product feed, you'll see the options there in the left-hand panel. I really encourage you to do a little bit of an audit. This is a really small, like a really quick win that you can do that you might see leads to a really significant increase in click rate and place order rate. Some other things that you can do is create some segments of people who viewed products during BFCM. Obviously, over a sale period, we all kind of put together our standard emails of the sale launch, maybe the mid-sale check-in, and then a kind of ending soon campaign. What this can help you do is build much larger segments of people who have maybe viewed a product during the sale but not checked out. And rather than sending generic emails around the sale ending, you can really personalize that content by saying something more targeted, like, get X product before our sale ends, and have that product featured in the email that you send, so that you're creating a much more engaging message for subscribers. The other little quick tip that I have for people ahead of BFCM is Klaviyo's price drop feature. So this is a really great way to kind of hack the idea of a personal shopping list. The way that we found it was actually, we found that customers were using it to do exactly that. And that's kind of what led us to finding this strategy as something that can be really good ahead of sale periods. But if you create a price drop form, which is easy to do in Klaviyo, you can add that to your product pages. And people can actually subscribe to specific products to get notified if there's a change in the price of that product. What we find people do is they subscribe to maybe 4 or 5 different products in the lead up to Black Friday, knowing that they're really going to want to get them before they sell out. And that makes a really personalized, obviously, as soon as the sale launches, they get hit with those emails. They've got the quick links. They can open those 3 pages, add to cart, and away they go. But for the merchant, obviously, it's a great way to generate new subscribers leading up to Black Friday, a really great way to re-engage maybe unsubscribed customers as well, because they see a really strong value in resubscribing. And the last thing is, it is an absolutely sensational way to gather SMS subscriptions. Really actionable forms like this is where we as an agency, working with merchants, see the biggest uplift in subscribers for SMS, is when people want to be notified about something and they don't want to miss it. Something like a price drop flow leading up to Black Friday is very, very valuable for your subscribers, and it makes it a very easy decision for them to say, yeah, that's worth putting my mobile number in for. So a little bit of a hack, but also a good way to use the holiday season to get more subscribers.
Yeah, all great examples. Essentially, the takeaway here is, as you know, for a lot of brands who are on this call, the power of Klaviyo is really in the data against profiles, and then how do we further segment and understand buying behavior. But what we're doing with this is essentially multiplying that data against your profile before they've even made a purchase. So you have the information that you can use and leverage to target them based on products they've viewed even before knowing who they are. Once they do subscribe, all that information that they've done prior to subscribing is added to their profile within Klaviyo. So this is a phenomenal tool. We're so proud of it. And like I can't stress anymore, please enable this if you can today, as soon as this call ends in 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So that kind of wraps up our highlight on the new reporting features within CDP. We're going to jump into some BFCM recommendations. But before we do, I just want to pop a little poll in the chat for everybody. So you can register for a demo of CDP. Mike and his team are all ready to go to line these up for you and basically show you not just the features that we've talked about today, but all the other features that are in CDP. We could sit on this call for the next 2 days and talk about all the cool things that are in there. But as a little bit of a highlight, I just wanted to mention some cool new features. Some that are really important is data normalization. Klaviyo now has an automated feature. So if you collect something like, let's say, gender or birthday, you've done that in the past, and maybe you've got kind of data in your account where you might have capitalized and non-capitalized or all caps versions, and it's very difficult to build out these segments with formats that aren't always consistent in how you've collected data in the past. Our feature of CDP is that you're going to be able to set up an automated rule to normalize that. So you can put in all the different variations of state, for example, or the different ways people might have written that in, and normalize that into a standard field so that it's much easier to build segments. Data warehousing, if you have it, Klaviyo has integrations with the 5 biggest data warehousing tools now. So if that's something that your business does, you're going to be able to integrate all of that infrastructure with Klaviyo too. So there's lots and lots of other features with CDP that I'd really recommend if you're keen to get a demo. Hit yes on the poll. Klaviyo will be keeping track of it. They'll reach out, book a time for you to see everything that you can do. And then the final thing I'll say on CDP is that this really is just the start. Like I said, I've been speaking to Klaviyo about this since Klaviyo Boss in 2019. Their team has been working in the background on all the infrastructure that Klaviyo needed to build in order to really take CDP as far as it can go. That work is done now. The first features are out, but we really are only at the beginning. So if you're looking at the features and you think these all look really cool, I really recommend booking in a demo, running through it, signing up for the free trial, because now is when you're going to be able to obviously get some little offers from Klaviyo maybe to be an early adopter, but also it's going to allow you to give feedback about the product roadmap, be really involved as a merchant yourself in where this feature is going to go. And that is just going to make the tool even more powerful for you in the short term, but in the long term as well.
Yeah, well said, Jason. I think for us, what I love to do is enable the trial and run demos with data within your account of Klaviyo. We have incredible, if Kat's still on the call, we have an incredible onboarding guide too. So if you're not interested in a trial, but you want to see some recorded demos of features that we're talking about today, I'll ask Kat to please add that link to our chat here. Jason's right in saying this is version 1. We are constantly getting better. As many of you know, Klaviyo is constantly getting better. So we are already talking about improvements that we're going to be rolling out early 2024, which are our customers are steering our product roadmap, which is so exciting. So early adopter discounts, absolutely. We can talk about that all day. We want to partner with our merchants, with our brands, and supply them with a fully integrated stack is our goal, and CDP is that within Klaviyo.
Awesome. All right. So we've still got, we're kind of probably a little bit behind schedule. So if you're on this call and you're interested in CDP, I have no doubt that you're already a Klaviyo Power user. So I am going to run through this fairly quickly. But as I said at the beginning, if you do have any specific questions, feel free. If we're rushing through some of these, but you wanted to maybe dig into something a little bit more, pop the question in the chat. We'll circle back to it in the Q&A. But I will do a little bit of a quick fire run through of some Black Friday best practices. So Campaign best practices from us. This is really simple, but clear call to actions, personalized content, exclusivity, and dynamic product feeds. We have run Andzen as an agency now. This is going to be our 7th Black Friday working in the e-com space. We've been around for about 11 years, but had a lot of clients in the US, in the earlier days before e-com was as big in Australia, where we were running Black Friday campaigns. And over that time, what we've discovered is that keeping these emails short, having very clear call to actions, personalizing the content as much as possible so you stand out in the inbox, particularly in your subject lines, anything that you can do there to stand out in a crowded space is really important. Exclusivity is a really great way to build hype in the lead up to Black Friday as well. That is what helps people have their kind of eye open for your campaigns when they do arrive. And like we talked about earlier, dynamic product feeds is a really easy way to, at scale, create personalization so that you're not sitting there creating 20 or 30 variations of a campaign to send to 20 or 30 segments. You can just create your one email and inject some of those intelligent features that Klaviyo has to allow you to personalize things. Draw attention in creative. So this is obvious, very obvious one, but a good example, just making it really bright, really loud, really easy to read, particularly on mobile, ensuring your call to action is a minimum 48 pixels tall. If you don't know, that's the average size of a thumb. So ensuring that your call to actions are really easy to engage with on mobile. Provide product recommendations like we were just talking about. Those dynamic product feeds are a really good way to personalize things. An example here as well of product highlights. So you've got this product feed in the background that's personalized, but using display blocks, display rules as well. So in this example, card collecting store, we know if they collect NBA cards or Pokemon cards or whatever it might be, making sure that we're showing the appropriate product feed if we know what collections a customer is interested in. Or with this example from Bissell here, if we know that we've maybe got 3 or 4 MVP products that people will be looking at over the sale, having a dynamic block that will display a product highlight and its features for people that have viewed that product. And then part 6, BFCM and SMS. So something that we always see a lot of activity around, again, similar to the price drop, early access to BFCM for SMS. This is a huge driver. People hate to miss out, right? FOMO, as we know, is a really big motivator. There are lots of people, particularly if your customer base is younger, they're going to be very interested in signing up for SMS so that they get that message the second that the sale launches and they're not having to remember or check their email inbox. Running pop-ups like this in the lead up to Black Friday with SMS consent in there, I really, really encourage it. You might be surprised by how many people are engaging.
I might just say, if for any brands that are on Klaviyo but don't have SMS enabled within the account, there's no fee to set up SMS within your account. There's no fees or plan required to build your SMS list. I can't stress this enough. If you don't offer your profiles, your customers, an opportunity to subscribe to SMS with your brand, you're doing them essentially a disservice. We don't know how many subscribers we can gain if we don't at the very least ask. So please sign up forums, pop-up forums, organically growing your list by emailing. I think Jason's going to show that slide in a sec, but these are all ways you can do that with no plan required.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things. If you're not sure that it's right for your brand, we often encourage subscribers to set up a 2-step SMS form and just have SMS on that second slide of the form. It's not going to impact the number of people that sign up for email. But again, if you see that you're getting people subscribing for SMS on that second slide, that's at the end of the day, that's your customers telling you they want you to use that channel to speak to them. Another great tool is to actually run email campaigns about SMS. So this is something that you can use, like we talked about before, those dynamic blocks. If you don't have SMS consent, you could just have a standardized block that maybe appears at the bottom of an email for anyone who isn't consented, that encourages them to sign up for SMS. Klaviyo have now released two-way SMS in Australia as well, which is really exciting. This now allows you to have a number that customers can text you with, which makes it really easy. From email, you can have a deep link in the mobile version of your email that will launch their SMS app, have a pre-written SMS ready to go that they can send to opt in. So within 2 clicks, they don't have to type their mobile number or anything. You can have people opting in for SMS now. But it's also a great way if you've got that integrated, like say if you're using a tool like Gorgeous, for example, and you have Klaviyo integrated. Again, it's a really great way for people to then be able to use SMS to text in, open tickets, for you to respond via SMS, create a much more personalized relationship with those subscribers. And then some SMS tips just to keep in mind during Black Friday. So like we've talked about a few times, early access is really powerful. Segmenting your SMS subscribers the same way that you would with email. Understanding who's at what stage in the journey can really help you go in the right direction of what campaigns to send via SMS. Balance your email and SMS frequency and the timing of those emails. They're not mutually exclusive. I wouldn't recommend just sending an email and SMS at the exact same time with the exact same message. If people get both, it's obviously, you kind of might start seeing people consider unsubscribing for one or the other. Think about how they work in tandem. And also think about kind of the time and place, right? If it's maybe 10 o'clock in the morning, and people are going to be at work, and email might be a better way to reach them there. Whereas if it's lunchtime or if it's 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, SMS is probably your way to go. And then don't overdo it. Of course, SMS is a privilege. The way that we like to talk about SMS at Andzen is to try to think about sending an SMS at a time when someone would be upset to have not got a message. So, for example, if a sale is launching or there's early access, no one's going to be unhappy about getting that message. If a sale is about to end and they haven't placed their order yet, or maybe they've had a product in their cart, sending an SMS then, obviously fantastic. Also, if a coupon code's expiring, really powerful tool. Everyone's always happy to be reminded if a coupon code is going to expire in 24 hours rather than missing that. So all of those strategies are going to help you get the most out of SMS over Black Friday. Mike, I don't know if you've got some others.
Yeah. Just one other. These are all great tips. A/B testing in flows, A/B testing in your campaigns for SMS. I think Jason and I spoke about a use case yesterday where a brand in the US A/B tested in a flow where they had one offer. Version A was offering a 50% discount. Version B of this test was having a problem and a solution. And version B saw a 39% higher click rate, and 135% higher average order value. Just because it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday doesn't mean you have to discount. There are many non-discount strategies you can leverage, and using A/B testing is a great way to not only increase revenue, but also learn what's driving clicks, what's driving conversion with your customers. So 100% A/B test, always, not just now, always, to just understand what strategies are going to work.
Perfect. Well, that takes us through into the questions. So if you have been sitting on something, or if you've been waiting to see if we address something and we haven't touched on it, pop it into the chat now. We've got a few questions lined up already that I'm going to ask Mike to answer. But yeah, we still do have a few minutes. So please don't be shy. Get your questions in. Even if there's a question that maybe has a bigger answer that we can't answer right now, we'll answer it after the call. We'll get the team at Klaviyo to reach out. If you have any questions for me in terms of how Andzen works, our services, what support that we might be able to help you with, feel free to pop those in as well. If we don't answer them, obviously in this session, we'll reach out to you directly. But Mike, I'm going to kick off with a question about the anonymous activity backfill. We've got a question from Anita asking if those anonymous profiles will count towards your Klaviyo profile count, and I guess impact your billing.
Yep, great question, Anita. I saw that one when it came through initially. The answer is no, until that individual subscribes to your brand. That is when the profile is created within Klaviyo. And all that information is then absorbed from their kind of historical engagement with your brand and saved against their profile. So what we're essentially doing is just caching the activity that they're doing against their browser until they subscribe. Once they do, yes, they are a profile within your account, and yes, all that information is then stored against their profile.
Perfect.
I hope that answers it. Good question.
Yeah, great question. I've just got a question from Paul here around where the best place to go is if you want to find a little bit more information out about CDP.
Awesome question, Paul. I would say when we released CDP, we had a lot of places where this information was available. Kat has shared the onboarding link. I would recommend going there. It's got some incredible videos per feature that are short, sharp videos, about 3 to 4 minutes each, as well as some playbooks and best practice around 3 funnels you can create today. How to create segments off the back of your RFM properties, how to standardize data for data hygiene and ensure that all this information against profiles is clean. So that's where I would begin for a one-stop shop to get a real good scope on the features, the functionalities. And we all learn differently. So there's going to be content that you can read, absorb, but there's going to be videos that you can watch and apply.
Perfect. Alrighty, we've got another question about SMS from Liv here in New Zealand. Shout out to our friends across the, what do we call it actually? It's not really the pond, is it?
No.
But they want to know about SMS and short codes. So SMS, whether or not you need to have that set up to be able to use in New Zealand right now.
Yeah, it's a good question, Liv. So their short code in New Zealand comes with a monthly fee. Short code, just as a number type, is one of the highest performing, fastest in terms of send speed, reliability. It's an owned number, so there are significant benefits to going through the application process that takes about 5 weeks to verify your business and get the short code in place. I'll have to double back on whether or not, if you have an existing subscriber or like SMS database, that could likely be saved within your account now and applied once the short code is approved. But I'm going to speak to my deliverability specialist who's here in the Sydney office right after this, and I'll ensure we come back to you with the correct information on that. Sorry, I don't want to, provide misinformation on this call. I'd rather be very accurate with what I tell you. So I'll come back to you today.
Yeah, Liv, we have your details, so we'll get the proper answer on that and reach out. We've got a question from Chi. So where do you enable anonymous activity backfill? Chi, I think Kat posted a link in the chat to the Klaviyo help guide on how to do that, but I will make sure that in the follow-up email that we send after the webinar, there'll be some like FAQ or quick links that you can use to check out anything that we talk about today. I'll make sure that that's in that email as well. But if you check in the chat, I can get one of the moderators to pop the link in there again that Kat shared. It's a pretty quick and easy process, and the help guide also gives you some direction on how you can test yourself to make sure that it's working too. So really handy article from Klaviyo there. A very good question from she as well is it too late to speak to Andzen about getting help ahead of BFCM? Absolutely not. We've still got plenty of time. I'm just going to share our second poll of the day, which is if you'd like to hear from my team about any support leading into BFCM, we're more than happy to help. We've got some packages that you can make use of that we can actually get into market quite quickly. So if there are some things that you have been wanting to do, but maybe haven't had the time to. We've got some packages that we can get in place really quickly so that everything's there. But if there's something more bespoke, if you need maybe some campaign support, if you want some help implementing CDP in the lead up to Black Friday, help creating your segments for the campaigns that you've already got planned, there's a myriad of ways that we can help you, even if it is setting up some of those great SMS strategies we talked about, like getting price drop in place, adding SMS opt-in to your pop-ups, and helping you have a SMS database ready for Black Friday. We can absolutely help with all of that. Okay, getting into the last couple of questions here. So from Jess, just wants to clarify again how you segment the audience using the RFM approach. The report that's in there will actually prompt you to create some segments, but I'll let Mike talk a little bit about the specifics.
Yeah, in the onboarding guide, Jess, there is the logic that you would apply to create these segments. What's great is it creates a new profile property for current category and previous category against a profile. So highly recommend looking at the onboarding guide that Kat shared in our chat to get the playbook and the logic on how to build these segments using RFM properties.
Yeah, perfect. Question from Chi here, is CDP an additional cost? The answer is yes. I'll let Mike talk a little bit about the pricing structure.
Yep, it's a great question, Chi. Yes, CDP comes at an additional cost. How we've priced CDP is based on total profiles. So as it stands, it's $500 USD per month per 100,000 profiles. So there are, again, early adopter discounts to the tune of 25% if you did want to move forward with CDP this side of Christmas. We are not a discounting culture at Klaviyo. When I saw 25%, I was very happy for our customers. So I'm obviously happy to provide pricing summaries for brands who are interested in exploring whether or not this is going to make sense for the brand. As I said, we're constantly getting better. Our CDP customer-facing roadmap will be available at the end of this month. I'm happy to supply that for everybody who's attended today's call as well, to give you line of sight into what we are building and prioritizing. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Chi.
Yeah, obviously we talked about that anonymous user backfill. That is not part of CDP, so that will be in every account. You can enable that. There's no extra cost there. It really is just those targeted features around RFM analysis, funnel analysis, the integrations that we talked about with those data warehousing tools, as well as some of those extra features like the data normalization and stuff. So
there is one like if I say RFM's 1, funnels 2, the third one would be something called Group Membership API, which is within our data component. Essentially, this is being able to pull the Klaviyo script on your website and understand when a profile visits your website, what segment are they in? Based on the segment that they're in, we create a unique customer experience, website experience for that individual. So, for example, Chi, if you're a very engaged individual on a specific brand, you might see a different message. Maybe you've have a high annual order value with this brand. You might not see a 20% discount on the website. Whereas if I've never purchased, maybe I do see this 20% discount for a first-time purchaser. So that is a feature that's getting a lot of recognition and brands are very excited about. But for the full scope of what CDP includes, I would recommend the CDP onboarding guide.
Great. And then the last thing here is just from Liv around some New Zealand specific stats on SMS. Mike, I don't know if you guys at Klaviyo might have any stats that are kind of specific to New Zealand and how SMS is performing as a channel in their region.
Yeah, Liv, it's a great question. Not off the top of my head, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say. I'm happy to take this offline and chat with you about SMS in New Zealand. We do have some great brands in New Zealand who are leveraging SMS and seeing great results, but I don't have any like stats or analytics on SMS performance in New Zealand. I will say, like, just completely, open about this. Sending in New Zealand is expensive. Unfortunately, it's one of the more expensive regions globally that we do support. So the best recommendation I can make is if you do support other regions, if you have a database in Australia, it's always a good opportunity to test SMS in regions outside of New Zealand to determine if it's going to work for our brand as a proof of concept. And then once it is proven and you have a strategy to apply within New Zealand. But again, I'm more than happy to have this conversation with you and tailor the conversation for your specific use cases and come prepared.
Absolutely. And we are 3 seconds away from being bang on time. So thank you, everybody who joined the webinar today. We really appreciate you having you here to tell you all about CDP. Hopefully you've picked up some really valuable ideas and advice ahead of BFCM. Obviously, our details are attached to this. You can email Andzen at results@Andzen for any questions that you have. Obviously, Mike and the Klaviyo team. You can reach out as well. There's a demo request form. If you didn't get a chance to answer the poll, you can fill that out on the Klaviyo website. Also, if you head to the Andzen website, we've got plenty of content and ideas on how to get the most out of your BFCM period as well. So thank you again, everybody, for joining. I really appreciated speaking to you today, and have a great rest of your week and a fantastic holidays.
Thanks, everyone.